Alright, before we get started, I wanted to take a semi-brief but relevant detour and ask something of my younger/teenage fans. High school age, I mean. I'm assuming there have to be a couple of you. Anyway, kids, since we're all aware that basically nobody under 25 reads comic books anymore, except for manga, most of you youngins probably do not recognize this character. Well, his is Archie, and he's the star of an improbably diverse and long-running franchise of the same name, set in a small town called Riverdale, where it's perpetually 1962. How tidy is Riverdale? This is their hot goth chick. Everything revolves around a single endless story element. Archie is beloved and pursued in equal measure by these two girls, Betty and Veronica, whom he simply cannot bring himself to choose between, leaving the women with their entire existence largely bound up in trying to win his affections. Yeah, I know, it sounds riveting, but trust me, in its day, this was pretty much your Grand Scott Pilgrim, you dig? So, two girls, one guy to go around is the basic story. Now here's my question, kids. Does any of that sound even remotely relatable to you? Does Archie here literally agonizing over which woman he's steady with sound like anything that goes on for actual teenagers anymore? I'm asking honestly. I've been out of high school for a long fucking time, and Friends with Benefits was even only just starting to come into being when I was graduating. But I'm given to understand that in this age of the hookup culture, a real contemporary Archie would probably have been fooling around with both of these women interchangeably for a good long time without any thought toward making one of them somehow official, with no friction brought to their broader social circumstance by this. Just something else to do while Reggie is busy updating his Facebook and Moose cycles through his iPhone snaps of Midge drunkenly groping Cheryl Blossom. Sorry. Well, anyway, that's on my mind because the concept of what lasts and doesn't, relevant or irrelevant, is on our menu for today. The first generation of console/franchise-era gamers is collectively camped out on the border of mid-20s and early 30s. Folks who were there on the scene when Mario and Luigi descended from the heavens are already looking askance at the generation behind them for whom Nintendo was primarily just the place where Pokemon came from. Sonic the Hedgehog's original supporters are more and more forced to endure the perplexed inquiry of, "You mean this used to be good?" And we've already started to draw lines in the sand, right? Mario, Sonic, Mega Man, these are our classic characters, the immortals who will be with us forever. Master Chief? Pfft, flash in the pan, right? To be forgotten as soon as the next FPS one-ups Halo's multiplayer. Am I right? Well, truth is, I don't know. How can we really know? How can we really know who will last and who won't, when such things are so often defined not by merit, but by the whim of fate? As gaming lurches inexorably toward the point when it's old enough for parts of it to really truly be forgotten, just who will be the real classics? What will stand the test of time? Who will be remembered? And where there will be any justice in it? Will the true gods live on forever, or will old men spin tales of long-forgotten fellows named Link to incredulous children whilst lounging in the shadow of the Coltrane Memorial? I want to hit you with a scary statistic regarding cinema, the preeminent cutting-edge narrative art form of the last century. Depending on whether you wish to assign credit to Edison or the Lumiere brothers, motion pictures were invented in either 1891 or 1895. Did you know that over 80% of all films made between that time and 1929, a period of almost 4 decades, are lost, gone, forgotten, forever? Did you know that a still staggering 50% of all films made before 1950 are just as lost? Think about that. 50%, half of an entire medium's first half-century of life, has simply ceased to exist. Gone, like it was never there. Do you know who this is? Okay, alright, everybody knows Charlie Chaplin. But how about him? Well, meet Harold Lloyd, who was doing silent comedy at the same time as Chaplin and was actually much more financially successful. Maybe not much more, but he did make more money. In his lifetime, he lived in an opulence that would shame any rapper on Cribs into a raw stupor. Today, well, there's a nice DVD set you can buy, at least, finally. Recognize him? This is Felix the Cat, arguably the first cartoon character to attain fame sufficient to attract audiences on his own. A feat many thought impossible in the early field of silent animation. Soon overshadowed by a mouse named Mickey, he's today only remembered by animation buffs, despite dozens of revivals throughout the years. Hey, quick, who was the first cartoon character created just for TV? Meet Crusader Rabbit. Heard of him? Probably not. So what I'm asking us to consider is, who do you really think is going to stick around? Think about this. Ask any gamer who the Nintendo mascot is, was, and ever will be, and you'll get one answer. Mario. But think about this. Which of Nintendo's franchises has made the broadest outside gaming world impact? Well, at this point, probably these guys. Aside from the games, Pokemon has spawned a TV series that's lasted more than a decade and two feature films, along with scads of merchandising. It's so pervasive that plenty of hardcore Pokemon fans aren't even all that familiar with the games. Is it possible that the Shock Mouse will outlive the plumber as the ultimate gaming icon? I kinda hope not, but you never know. Shakespeare wasn't the only guy writing plays back then, you know. And what of Sonic? At this point, the only thing keeping him around is the nostalgia of his adult fans and the non-discriminating taste of his younger fans. When that second one dries up, where does he go? There's no Friars Club where an aging star can go to chill for video games. But that's only one angle. That's the invisible hand of the market stuff. What about relevance? What about characters and concepts that simply perhaps have a finite shelf life? This is Dennis Miller. If you're under the age of, 14 to 17, I guess, I imagine there's maybe a 40% chance you have no idea who he is. And if you do know, I bet in most cases you know him as a so-so rated conservative radio talk show host who occasionally makes tragically unfunny appearances on Bill O'Reilly. This Janine Garofalo. And to those of you in that same age range, probably know her, if you know her at all, as an even more so-so rated liberal talk show host who occasionally makes tragically unfunny appearances on Keith Olbermann. Believe it or not, at one time, both of these people were considered giants of the comedy world. Via a legendary stint on SNL and a magnificent HBO series, Miller developed, pioneered, and perfected the style of smug, cynical, rapid-fire, overly verbose current events humor now practiced by luminaries like Stewart and Colbert and ripped off by, me, for one. Garofalo? Well, she was damn near the Sarah Silverman Mark I, the original model who helped kick in the door for all future generations of edgy, foul-mouthed, kinda geeky, kinda cute, alternate-chick stand-up comedians. What happened to them? Who can say? But the end result was an ever-growing irrelevancy. Now then, we gamers all know Samus Aran is important, right? On the technical side, Metroid basically set the standard for exploration platformers. On the character side, finding out that our armor-clad Ultimate Warrior was actually a lady was one of the first all-time great surprise finales in early gaming, and a historical milestone ensuring that gaming's first truly great female hero was also its least sexually exploitative. So why does she so often seem to get lost in the shuffle, especially lately? Oh, sure, the high profile of the continuing Metroid series, the zealousness of her fans, and appearances in the big-selling Smash Bros. Games are keeping her relevant for now, but am I the only one who notices that she seems to slowly be becoming less known for her own work and more token tough gal in the old-school Nintendo menagerie? Fact is, through no fault of her own, Samus and Metroid have been getting less and less unique as the gaming world around them catches up to everything that once made both of them revolutionary. Metroid all but went into hibernation during the N64 PlayStation Dreamcast era, and while it was sleeping, Castlevania continued trying the exploration platform side-scroller pants on for size and found it to be a perfect fit that it kept right on wearing up until, now, really. Meanwhile, platforming itself went to 3D and suddenly non-linear open-world exploration was the norm. Add the explosion of action heroines on the PlayStation era and the sharp spike in powered armored space soldiers as the Xbox facilitated the colonization of consoles by first-person shooters, and, what about Metroid belongs to Metroid anymore? As a final straw, rather than try and show all these latecomers who was the boss, Samus and her flagship series got reconfigured into Nintendo's belated Me Tooing of the FPS cycle. As of now, the franchise has been turned over to Team Ninja with a mandate to deliver a hardcore third-person actioner and revitalize the whole shebang. But I'd say it's yet to be decided whether Other M will be a rebirth or the last hurrah. And those are just the big ones, the ones we consider immortal. What about the also-rans? After Nuts and Bolts, will anyone care to hear that Banjo used to be awesome? Will future generations decide that Crash Bandicoot was full of overlooked brilliance? Will my kids believe me when I tell them about Earthworm Jim? Or will history have decided that Arrow the Acrobat was where it was really at? Hell, what about the stuff we're already forgetting? Quick, who is this? And this? This? Him? Her? This guy? That guy? So where am I going with this? I don't know. I just want us to think about it, I guess. The medium's getting older. So are we. More and more, this is stuff we're going to have to deal with. Who will last? Who won't? Who knows? Except this guy. This guy right here. You'll never kill this motherfucker.